Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Mike Force Podcast. It is, of course, your host, Mike G, back from Mexico. So if you guys are tracking all of the things that have happened recently, I just got back from the Rally of Nations in Leon, Mexico. Started this great adventure and getting involved in an international rally. And man, I'm almost speechless based on the experience that I had. It was the most exhausting experience, at the same time, one of the most rewarding and fulfilling things I've ever done. The way it worked was the World Rally Championship is held in Mexico normally, but the WRC pulled out. It's an international competition, obviously. They pulled out, and so they're kind of revalidating that process to get everybody involved. And last minute, they're like, hey, let's invite the USA and all these amazing drivers and co-drivers from all these countries and have them come to Mexico to race in the WRC stages. So we show up, and I don't know what to expect. Last minute, we had border crossing issues with the team from Rally Ready, which this is the motorsports team. And Dave, Derek, and all the guys Cleo, all the guys and gals are working through these issues, and we don't know if we're going to have cars. So we show up on day one to Recce, and I'm using Matt James, who is Leah Block, Ken Block's daughter's co-driver, and we're going through Recce, not even knowing if our cars are going to show up. Barry McKenna's team had the same issues. There's a whole bunch of things that had to come together perfectly for this to happen. But 16 hours of recce. I believe it was 16, 17 stages, a lot of stages that we had to do reconnaissance on and fix our notes, because there wasn't Jamba notes. Pre-written notes were not done. So we had to go through and write the notes from scratch, and we did most of the stages twice. Now, these are long stages. It's not like American Rally. These stages are 22 kilometers in length. They take 16 to 20 minutes to run on average, and they are brutal. Oh, and by the way, they're at elevation. Me and Dave's car, which were, I think, the only cars in open four-wheel drive, are basically stock. They are stock Subarus. I mean, they have safety equipment on them. There are some modifications, like Dave's car has a sequential, but my car was completely stock gearbox, had a tune, but it wasn't tuned for elevation, good suspension, but otherwise stock. So we're competing. I mean, we're competing in our own class, but for the overall rankings, we're going against Rally 2 cars or R5 cars that are just the best built cars made by M Sport overseas. These are like built for these kind of road setups where these things like drive on rails. And remember, this is my second rally ever. I wasn't really knowing what to expect, but as we went into it, I'm like, man, here's what I do know. I'm going to learn a lot. And that's what did happen. I was intimidated by it, but I was going out. I wanted to be cautious because I wanted to destroy the car. And long story short, we get to the very end, and we're on the last stage. And right before the last stage, which happens to be the funnest stage, in my opinion, and it's about 22 kilometers. Hold on, stand by. I'm going to drink this drink. Big shout out to Black Rifle Coffee Company. I need 200 milligrams of caffeine in my life. That espresso mocha is one of my favorite drinks. So we get to this last stage, and I'm like, okay, so this is going down. I'm so proud of this car. We're not doing great, but for the car we're in, for my driving experience, we're doing well. We're being consistent, increasing times for all the stages. So I'm getting more refined, but without getting reckless, because I'm playing it safe. We get into the last stage, and in my mind, I said to myself, okay, push it a little bit. You don't need to destroy the car, but push it a little bit because we need to shave some time. Well, lo and behold, I saved from the first time that I ran that to the second time I ran it, 25 seconds. In rally, that's a lot of time that I shaved. which means I was, not that I'm a great driver, it's just I was playing it safe the first round, the first time I ran that stage. And the second time I ran that stage, I understood it, and I shaved time. I wasn't expecting to shave 25 seconds. We're about halfway in that stage, and I hear a clunking. No impacts, no catastrophic banging up of the car. I'm just like, hey, everything's good. And I hear a rattling. And it sounds like the exhaust, and we confirmed that it was the exhaust in the middle of the run because it broke off probably at the manifold, and you could hear the engine really loud because we didn't have an exhaust. And it sounded pretty cool. and we get to that point, and at the very last turn, Matt had already identified that something wasn't right because the rear end kept swinging. I thought it was the locker or the differential, and I thought for some reason it was slipping, which was causing us to lose traction. I also blamed the terrain, but he noticed something different, which from his experiences is why. And when we came around the last corner and I see the jump on the last straightaway, I'm going and the rear end is swaying back and forth, and we hear a rubbing noise. As we cross over the finish line, the right rear wheel falls off the car. I mean, it literally disconnects from the control arms. The axle falls out, and we have no right rear wheel. Now, we finished the stage 25 seconds faster, but when you look at the rules for rally, you will get a did not finish if you can't make it back to the finish line. Now, in ARA rules, you can get towed, but in WRC rules, you can't get towed. You have to finish it under your own power. Now, I was willing to send it and drag that the bottom of that car the entire 30-minute transit back to where we were, except the drivetrain fell out, and I had no powertrain, no drivetrain. So we were dead in the water. Long story short, we sat out for like 2 hours before we got towed back. And when we got back, the entire ceremony was completely over. In a field of, I believe, 47 cars we started with, they did clock my time, even though I got a DNF. I finished 17th place out of 49 cars, or 47 cars. And I believe 29 ended up finishing, somewhere around there. So ultimately, I'm very proud of the team, of my position in it. And sure, there's a whole bunch of things that you could do better. That's life. As long as you're improving, I think you're doing well. But a bigger shout out to Dave, who placed 9th overall in a stock Subaru, and Tom Williams, who's on the team as well, who was using, I believe, an R3, who finished 10th overall. These are just very good indications that if next year we run R3 or Rally 2, which is an R5 car from M Sport, these are professional rally cars, homologated rally cars, that we will be competitive against the best in the world. Will we be winning? Who knows? That's a story to tell. But am I disappointed? No, not at all. Amazing experience. I love Mexico. I love the people, the culture, the food. It was just one of the most impactful experiences. I signed more autographs, took more pictures in a 3-day period than I have my entire career in Fieldcraft because of how passionate people, especially families, are about rally. It motivates me to, get with the guys from American Rally Association and drive and strive our best with Black Rifle Coffee, with Rally Ready, with Fieldcraft, with me personally, with Dave, JT, all the guys, and make rally more significant and popular in America, because America needs that. Americans need to get off their ass, off their cell phones, off the video games, off the Netflix, and get outdoors. That's why we're on this bandwagon of operating the outdoors, because I think it's so important in our mental health to understand that this is an accessible sport. It's organic. You could grassroots start from the very bottom and go head to head with the very best, working your way to the very top. Let me take one more sip of coffee, guys. So, lastly, big shout out to all our sponsors: Black Rifle, 9 Line, Redcon, Mountain Ops, all these guys that are facilitating everything that we're doing. Eagles and Angels, man, there's a whole bunch of Sabelt. If it wasn't for Eric at Sabelt that sent me my gloves that I forgot, I would have probably not been able to race. But I want to say thank you to all those guys. And I hope sponsors like SIG and all these guys that are interested in this kind of see the writing on the wall that this is going to be successful and are willing to commit next year, because we need big sponsors. We need big sponsors from companies that we believe in. Before I'll go into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, I want to talk about my buddy Tim Kennedy's new book, Scars and Stripes. It's co-written by Nick Palamiscano. I always screw up his last name. Sorry, Nick. Nick from Ranger Up, West Point graduate, helped Tim Kennedy do this. This is the Advanced Reader's Edition, on sale June 7th. January, February, March, April, May. June 7th of this year. And it is an honor to get this book from Tim, who's a very good friend of mine, who wrote this book with integrity, trying to motivate you through his story to get off your ass and do something exceptional with your life. I mean, look, the stuff is not hard, guys. Yeah, it's hard to get into it, but the easiest thing you could do is commit. The hardest thing to do is also the same, to commit. But once you make that decision, it's all downhill from there, right? You have the ability to be a guy like Tim Kennedy if you commit to it, right? Scars and Stripes, you guys can get it. It's coming out June 7th, 2022. So I haven't read it yet, but supposedly I'm in this book, which is kind of cool because operationally, me and Tim have worked together. I'm looking forward to giving that a read. Also, want to talk a little bit about one of the posts that I did, a tweet I did about looking for your tactical Tinder mate. I actually think it's super funny. But the idea of having a tactical Tinder, where a lot of people, I haven't realized this until like kind of diving into this world. A lot of people are looking for companionship, for friendship, for community. It's one of the reasons we started American Contingency. You guys can go to AmericanContingency.com and lean on communities and groups in your own backyard from American Contingency that are similar and like-minded when it comes to being prepared. Thinking about that. There's a lot of people who are complacent in this world who want nothing to do with the idea of preparing at all, which I think is asinine. I think it's insane to think that way. But when you look at like a world of people, whether it's political leanings, whether it's cultural leanings, whether it's what your religion is. What I think is important is that people have the opportunity to kind of link up with people in their own backyard who have similar mindsets. Now, I'm not saying AmericanContingency.com is a dating app, but what I'm saying is you can meet like-minded human beings, and that's somewhere that you can lean on. I'm not saying it's a tactical Tinder, even though I made that a joke. I wish I had the tactical Tinder app because I think it would be successful. It's like farmers only, right? If you're a farmer, if you're somebody who listens to country, who grows up more rural, then that establishes kind of a set of morals and ethics that are separated out from the pack. In my own pursuit of relationships, I think it's important. Here, let me digress for a second. I had this idea back in the day of doing this, like the Bachelor version of me in a survival circumstance, where you would have like 10 beautiful women who think they're going to engage with the Bachelor, and it's going to be a similar-esque kind of story, except they don't know after they get dolled up that they're going to helicopter infiltrate into the middle of the woods with their kit bag. They have their makeup, they have all this stuff, and they're going to do survival challenges where they're put through all these tests where their makeup comes off. They don't have the ability to do all the things that are normal. They're sleeping in a tent. They're very uncomfortable. But you start to separate all of this persona, all of this virtue, all of this aesthetic. That starts to peel away, and you get down to the core of who somebody is. And I think that's really cool to see and witness. But I think as somebody who thought about this show as somebody who was single. I was like, dude, how awesome would that be to see people show their true colors and people thrive, or people who don't have the resilience crumble? Not that I want to, I mean, that's entertaining. Not that I want to degrade people, but I think we are so comfortable, relaxed, and complacent in this life that we need that reset. We need that resilience. It's, again, operate the outdoors. Like, get outside. You want to build resilience? Get outside, test yourself, do something different with your life, do something challenging, and you will build that resilience naturally. If you haven't seen it, Black Rifle Coffee, GBRS, has been doing a whole bunch of free fall stuff. I was supposed to go down there, but didn't work out timing-wise. I'm still thinking about operate the outdoors, of doing this epic hunt into Glenn Eberlstock's personal ranch that's classified. But doing a jump into a hunt, which I think would be super cool. But that's what I mean. I'm trying to inspire you. I don't think you're going to do stuff like that. Maybe you can, but I'm trying to inspire you to do epic stuff just to get outdoors. I don't know if you know this, but we're in every Black Rifle coffee shop right now with swag, survival equipment, first aid, our gear, our packs. Please hit up a Black Rifle Coffee, your local one in your backyard, to get access to all of our stuff. Let's kick it off to the meat and potatoes of our podcast. Stand by. Let me take another sip. All right, guys, let's talk about this. I'm on this whole rally kick, and we're getting ready for spring and summer. We're in spring. We're getting ready for summer to kick off with spring break, leading into some great weather, some great opportunities to get outdoors. And a lot of people who followed Fieldcraft since the very origins know that we're heavily involved in the overland space. Why? Well, the overland community is one of the best communities to affiliate with if you want to grow and evolve as a person. If you want to recreate, do all kinds of epic stuff, get your family outdoors, get yourself outdoors, overlanding's the way. We are going to be at Overland Expo very soon in May, I believe. I personally won't be there because I'll be at a rally race. I believe that is Oregon. Yes, that is Oregon. I'll be in Oregon Trail doing a rally race. But if you're in the in the Flagstaff area, Overland Expo is the biggest event that we do in the overland space. Now, the question is like, Mike, why would you do overlanding? You're a preparedness company. Well, it's very easy. Likely you have a vehicle, and your vehicle is the means for you to get outside, to do logistical resupplies, to go camping, to go travel, to do all these things. It's sitting in your driveway. It's sitting outside of work in the parking lot. And a lot of people don't pay attention kind of to that vehicle. Now, you see the overland rigs. There's a little bit more attention paid there because they're going out to do recreation, and they're setting up their vehicle for that. So the reason I want to talk about this is because I want to give you some tips on my mindset when it comes to vehicles, how you could build that up, setting it up for being best prepared, but also motivate you to get involved with Fieldcraft and with overlanding, because I love it so much. It's such a positive and impactful thing. We're working with Jillian. I'll leave her Instagram below. Jillian's going to be with us in May. We're going to do some content with a storyteller with off-road capable sprinter vans, which we have one in our arsenal at Fieldcraft. But that's like the far right extreme of getting that luxury camp setup RV style. I love that idea because I want to be comfortable. Let's talk about like the vehicle itself. Now, you don't need a high-speed and super expensive vehicle to get outdoors, to overland, and to do all this off-road stuff. But if we're talking about, hey, like Mike, what's the best setup? Let's talk about some of my rigs. So one of my favorite rigs is my 2006 Land Cruiser LC100, which is the series of it. That is like the better engine. 06, 07, they did a bump up. I think it was just a timing thing in a cam that gave you more horsepower, and a great V8, which is the V8 that's in the Tundra. So it's not underpowered, but it's a great platform for off-roading and overlanding. That's my favorite. that vehicle cost me $20,000. Not very expensive comparatively. I mean, a new 4Runner could cost you $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 depending on the trim, year, and setup. So when I look at my own rig, my 06, yes, I have invested in a whole bunch of equipment for that vehicle, but that vehicle for me is my hotel or my Airbnb out in the middle of the wood line when I'm overlanding with my family and friends. So that is an investment, right? Because if I'm going to go outdoors and I'm going to be overlanding, I want to be comfortable. The only missing component to that is the Alicab setup, which is the tent setup, which I'll talk about when I talk about tents a little bit. But let me walk you through my mindset in building that vehicle, which will help you build your vehicle. You can have a Honda Civic, you can have a hybrid, you can have a Tesla. There's a baseline of things that you need to set up these rigs to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And I'll walk you through the process. So when I built out the Land Cruiser, I said to myself, well, I know I'm going to take this thing off-roading, and it had air suspension that was tied to an automated system that basically, rose you up when you're going off-road, lowered you down when you're on the highway. A lot of people delete that, and so did I, because I wanted the manual setup. I wanted a little bit of clearance, but not too much. You don't have to go very big in suspension setup, because what you're doing is as you're taking the entire vehicle and lifting it off of the wheels, is you're compromising the potential stability overland or off-road with the more distance that you create. So there's a balance there, right? And it depends on what you want to do. I don't want to rock crawl. I'm not a big fan of rock crawling because it's just not me. I have a nice Jeep that Mike Hernandez is going to build for me that's going to be built out for rock crawling, but it's more trail running. I don't want to challenge myself and go rock crawling. I want to overland comfortably and see the outdoors. So my setup required that I be lower to the ground, but I needed all-terrain tires and wheels with a good suspension setup. So I went with the 3.5-inch Old Man Emu setup. The Old Man Emu setup, the OME setup, is considered kind of a budget suspension build, but with the shocks and the springs, it's a great start point for suspension. I think it's a great end point. You don't really need much else besides that. So I started with that because I knew I wanted the suspension. It took a while for it to break in. It was pretty stiff. Now it's super good to go. I also needed good wheels and good tires. I put Method wheels on it, and I put some good all-terrain tires. Now, a lot of guys go with mud terrains, but it depends on where you're at. If you're on the East Coast, I started jeeping in the Appalachian Trail, where if there was rain and you didn't have MTs, you didn't have mud terrains, you had a problem. So, but here out west, we don't have a lot of that. We have more rocky, more varied, boulder-ish terrain where an all-terrain was essential. And plus, I didn't want the loud road noise. I had the AT3Ws, any BF Goodwrench AT. There's a million companies that make good all-terrain tires. I would recommend that you go with an all-terrain over the MT, especially if you spend the majority of your time on-road commuting and travel. The MT is just going to be loud. It's going to be significantly wearing faster than an AT, and I'm completely happy with it. The next thing that I worried about is I looked at it and went, man, if I hit an animal with this deer, with the front end of this vehicle, if I hit a deer, it would destroy my vehicle. I actually hit a deer with my vehicle, with my setup, and it didn't do anything. It didn't even leave a scuff mark. So why are bumpers important? Why are steel bumpers important? It depends on where you live again. I live in rural Utah, where during the rut, there's animals jumping in front of your car on purpose, it seems. And elk, moose, deer, these animals, if hit from the front end of your car, would destroy your car. And if you're overlanding or off-roading or traveling, then you have a higher likelihood of hitting something because you're just exposure. I went with ARB. ARB is my favorite. They're expensive. They're super hard to find now because of the shortage on steel, but I would recommend ARB for almost everything that I do. ARB is proven. I believe it's an Australian-based company. They're super heavy, but get an ARB bumper with a loop. The loop is basically the guard rail, for lack of better terminology, that protects the radiator, the front end of the car. That thing has saved me twice, both instances hitting deer where the deer have just bounced off my vehicle. Tragic for the deer, but I'm glad I wasn't disabled in the middle of nowhere. So that's a concern. I also look at particular setups in the vehicle that have to do with the interior, but I don't get crazy, right? I don't get crazy with it. Like my thinking for the interior setup is I want to be comfortable. I want my family to be comfortable, my friends to be comfortable. And so the first thing I look at is tinting the windows. It might sound, what? Tint the windows? Yeah, spend a couple $100 and tint the windows. Why? Well, if you're exposed to the elements for long durations of time, if you've ever done a long road trip and your left arm has been burned because you're exposed to the sun, that's why. So if you tint the windows, then you're reducing the temperature that you have to maintain on the inside of the vehicle because it's not getting as much UV or heat interior-wise. So that's the first thing I do. I always tint the windows. Moving to the inside, a lot of the things that I build on the inside have to do with the staples of survival as we define them at Fieldcraft Survival. If you don't have a mobility bag in the back of your vehicle, I would say you're wrong. Let me take another sip of coffee real quick. What do I mean? Okay, mobility bag. Not a lot of people have heard this, and if you're a Fieldcraft follower for a long time, you've heard this story. But in 2009, I had a tragic incident where a buddy of mine was hit by a car, and him and his wife, and I had to treat him medically. While trying to treat him, I had a MOLLE attached first aid kit attached to the back of the Jeep that I own, that I've had for 20 plus years. And that first aid kit was adhered to the MOLLE attachment. You know, MOLLE is like the woven nylon where you stick the back of the MOLLE pouch through it so you can't remove it. I'm not going to say that it made the difference in life or death, but it can. It could have. Because when I went to go pull that kit off, I couldn't pull it off because it was MOLLE attached. So I reached in the bag and pulled all the contents out. And when I went to his side, I had a mess of first aid equipment. And I remember thinking back then, in hindsight, afterwards, thinking, why has nobody made a better solution to this? You know, the idea for a lot of MOLLE in vehicles derived from military applications of MOLLE in body armor and kit, and then putting it in the vehicle. That integration makes sense, right? Except we forgot that in a vehicle, you have more space, more forgiveness, more capacity. So if your pouch is really thin because it's on your body armor, and it can't be too wide because you'd be, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That's a Ghostbusters reference if you're too young to remember that. But what I want to know is, like, why would you not have double the size of that? Because you have more capacity or room in your vehicle. And also, you don't need MOLLE all the time. So we made the mobility bag. I made the mobility bag and designed it off of attaching it to the back panel or the back of your seat, where you could put Velcro large pouches for first aid, survival, and general purpose, all the things that you need depending on your environment, with a MOLLE adapted centerpiece for tourniquet holders, for tourniquets, for your magazines, whatever you need, and then had the ability to disconnect top and bottom and turn that into a backpack so you could bug out on foot. Because what happens if you have to displace from your vehicle? If you don't have the means to carry your stuff from your vehicle setup to on foot, well, again, that's a problem. So I recommend, I'm selfishly plugging my own stuff here, get the mobility pack from Fieldcraft Survival. You won't regret it. Get one for your driver's side and your passenger side. And the staples of survival starts with just that, survival. So what do you need most certainly, first and foremost, is the ability to retain your core body temperature. Like in austere survival, hypothermia is killing the most people. Well, why? Because they're exposed. So you need the ability to start a fire, maintain a fire, shelter in place, and retain your core body temperature. That could be a bivy sack, a Mylar space blanket, a fire starter, a lighter, wood. I carry wood. I carry a block of tinder and wood that allow me to start and kickstart a fire, and then use whatever is in the terrain that I'm in to maintain that fire and fuel. And then you should have all those, not just or and, all of those things. Also, when I look at survival, when it comes to core body temperature, obviously fire is important, but I want to maintain that core body temperature by keeping myself out from the exposure of the elements. So if I'm in a car and it's cold, well, I want to be able to maintain my core body temperature inside of that vehicle just in case I run out of fuel. A bivy sack, like why would you, not just a Mylar space blanket, which is important, it's very small, very cheap, but why would you not have a bivy sack or an actual, not even a bivy sack, a sleeping bag? You have the room, you have a trunk, you have the room. Also, I want you to think about water procurement, not just water itself. Having a Camelback in your vehicle, having bottles of water, even a gallon of water, that's essential because you have the capacity, you have the trunk. But what I would recommend is that you have the ability to contain water and purify water. There's not many places in the U.S. where you overland where you're not going to have access to some form of water. Now, yes, where I live in Utah, water is not everywhere. You could be in Nevada and have access to no water. That's a consideration. But if you're in Idaho, there's more water, there's more freshwater locations than anywhere, I think, in the country as far as lakes. So you need the way to purify and filtrate that water. It's not just purifying by using, if you're purifying, you're using chlorine dioxide, you're using iodine tablets, you're using bleach, you're using a Grayl, Grayll, that allows you to push and filtrate the water while it purifies it through a filter mechanism. You want to filtrate it as well. Filtration has to do with getting rid of the impurities before it's actually purified of protozoa and bacteria. There's a whole bunch of options there, but I recommend having that on your kit as well. Let's kind of shift to first aid. Now we sell both tourniquet holders that go on the Molly component as well as the tourniquets. We have TAC Solutions Soft T wide tourniquet as well as Cat 7s, which is made by North American Rescue. These tourniquets are important on the trail, but not just one. Like a lot of guys get one, they're one and done. You have 4 extremities per person. So if you have a family vehicle full of your family, you need to think about multiple situations where you might be in a mass casualty circumstance where you're treating everybody. So why not have, because you have the space, more than one tourniquet? A lot of guys get one tourniquet, they put it inside of a bag, stuff it in your trunk, and that's the end of story. That's not what, if you want to check the block, sure. Tourniquets are not that expensive. There's not a lot of margin from us as a company because we buy it from somebody else. So it's not like a great money maker. We want you to have tourniquets because they save lives. I've seen them save lives. I've used it to save lives. It's very important to have. I also want you to think about when you are bleeding, you need to have Mylar space blankets to retain the core body temperature of that person. As they bleed, they lose core body temperature. You have to keep them warm. You don't want them going into shock or into hypothermia. I also want you to think about stop the bleed. So we do sell basic hemorrhage response kits, basic stop the bleed kits that are meant to stop the bleed in punctures, gunshot wounds, etc. You need to have those in your kit as well. We have a first aid pouch on the mobility bag that's designed for that, and we also have visor panels that have first aid and survival. Why? All of the things that I'm talking about, especially in first aid, need to be readily accessible. It's not going to be the best case scenario. You're not going to be like, oh, I just had an accident, so let me go back to the car and get my first aid kit out of my bag. You're going to be like flipped upside down fighting for your life, and you need to be able to reach your arm out in any direction and access a tourniquet and a stop the bleed kit for you or for your family. That's why we have the visor panels. That's why the mobility bag is in arm's reach if you're coming around the backside. Super important. Please, please, please do not neglect first aid. Lastly is general purpose. Now, I always tell people general purpose because we have a big pouch at the bottom of a mobility bag. General purpose includes our 20, 40, and 80-liter bags. That's part of a mobility suite, which is you take a 20-liter bag, and that's by your passenger side. By the way, all of our bags have first aid and survival Velcro attached pouches for all your equipment, so you can't make excuses. You have to have that with you. The 40-liter is behind the center console. It's a little bit more robust. And the 80-liter is in your trunk because it has your maintenance equipment, recovery equipment, all that stuff. The reason we built that and designed that way is I want you to be able to have ready access no matter where you're at, but also put that on your back or hand carry that out to be able to save your life. That bag capacity is for all things general purpose that have to do with your environment. I always tell people, an overland experience in Florida is very different than an overland experience in rural Montana. If you're in rural Montana, you better have ham radios, you better have bivy sacks, a means to start fire, even wood, because you get stuck out there, very different considerations. You need to have a spare coat, spare lighters. Big lighters should be thrown all over your overland rig. And the 20, 40, and 80 just extends that capacity by allowing you to also carry and carry away if you had to break contact away from your vehicle. Super important. Let me talk a little bit about the sleep setup. I get asked often, Mike, what is the best sleep setup for you? A lot of guys, look, I've been camping off of rigs my entire life. In war, we were sleeping under vehicles, and it was not fun, right? I mean, it was fun, but it sucked at the same time. But when I look at camping now, I want to be comfortable. The best camping setup I've seen outside of an RV, outside of a pop-top camper in the back of your pickup bed, has been Alucab's rooftop tent setup. Now, iCamper makes some good stuff too. Mike Pfeiffer from Last Line of Defense turned me on there, and it's made by a Korean company, which always means good in my opinion. They're high quality. It's like Germans. They make high quality stuff. But this Alucab, which is made in South Africa, is a great setup. That is the setup I'm going to put on top of my Land Cruiser for this season. If I can get one. Dude, it's hard to get anything camping-wise or overland-wise because there's a lot of shortages. They are getting better by the day. So let's talk about the back setup for me. Look, I use Goose Gear for all my rigs. Goose Gear makes the best drawer systems in overlanding. I wanted to get a Goose Gear 7-8 years ago. And when I started building these overland rigs, there was only one company I was going to go with, and that was Goose Gear. They make lockable drawer systems. They have pull-out fridge stove systems. They're camp kitchen setups, which is what I have in my Land Cruiser. And I use a combination of a fridge, whether it's Dometic, a combination of a Walmart camping setup, because I like the budget. I like the cheaper versions of that because they work, and I don't need a super expensive camp setup or a kitchen setup. And I will always put those systems in the back. If you're interested in getting one of those, drop our names. Maybe you can get a discount, but definitely reach out to them now because there's a waiting list. I mean, again, the shortages based on supply are difficult for everything in the area. Lastly, let's talk about security, because you guys always ask me like, hey, what am I thinking about security-wise when I'm driving overlanding with my family? I kind of made a joke about the why can't I find a woman who has a AR-15 with a variable optic? I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Look, if you are overlanding, off-roading, and you have a pistol that is a 9mm compact, subcompact, and that's your protection, you need to be more robust than that. Remember, you're going into austere rural environments that include self-protection considerations, that include positively identifying friend or foe in the middle of open spaces, and also being able to manage self-protection and defense in the confines of your vehicle. Like if I go into a camping situation where I'm camping on top of my roof, I will not be up there without a self-protection tool. Like I'll go up there with an EDC pistol, with a truck gun, whatever it may be. Here's the minimum. One, if you're carrying concealed, that's fine, but upgrade your level of carrying concealed. Mostly I carry a 365 XL. I carry the comp version of that because it's my favorite everyday carry pistol. That comp version is very good because it reduces muzzle flip by 30%. And if anybody I'm with needs to pick that up, it's point and shoot. There's no safety mechanisms. It's a single action pistol. It's striker fired. It's a great, great pistol. My favorite. But if I'm going camping, I want a little bit more robustness. I might do a full-size pistol with a war belt. Mike, why would you do that? Why would you not? If I'm going to do a camping setup, I'm not going to necessarily carry a pistol inside the waistband. I might bring my VTAC belt, my GBRS belt, and attach a holster that's overt. I mean, some places you can't have that set up, but some places you can. And if I have that, I'm not just carrying that for people, I'm carrying that for wild animals. You know, there's 4,000 missing people, including a lot of children, in the middle of national parks and national forests. Why is that? Mostly mountain lions, cougars, same thing. And you want to be able to protect yourself from the wildlife as well as wild people. So I would go with a 320X carry. My favorite pistol is the 320 AXG Pro. Even this Spectre, I got this, oh my God, this Spectre is awesome. The SIG 320 Spectre is one of my favorites. But I might carry that full size outside the waistband. So I also want you to have a truck gun. The truck gun consideration is being able to defend my life inside my vehicle, shooting through my door, through my window. That little pea shooter 9mm is not going to affect anything on the outside of the vehicle, especially if I shoot through an obstacle, including my car. If you have a 300 Blackout, which I do recommend, you could have a SIG Rattler. You could have a BCM, which is what I have. That has a collapsible stock. You can carry it in a Kafaru bag. I got a couple neat bags from different companies, Eberl stock, where it's a hunting backpack, but it has my breakdown 300 Blackout with a Law Tactical folder folded to the side, and I'm going to have that to be able to protect myself and my family. Again, the considerations in rural environments in security are very different than anywhere else. If I'm in the middle of nowhere and somebody pulls up on me, that's not a good sign that something's going to happen with a positive outcome. Look, evil people do bad things to good people in the middle of nowhere, right? They take advantage and exploit that opportunity. You need to be well protected. Something I always do as a means of my own security is I even take, depending on who I'm with, I even take my AR and set it against a wheel well where somebody is approaching me. They see that and they go, oh, okay. Like, hey, this is somebody not to mess with. I've met some crazy ass people on the trail in rural overlanding. Those are the minimal security considerations. I also carry, for non-lethal means, I always carry either a hatchet. I got a Dan Winkler hatchet in my vehicle for breaching, but also for self-defense if I had to use it. And I always carry bear mace in the driver's side and passenger side doors just in case, right? To mitigate risk, not just to people, but also to bears, to animals. So have that on hand and think about your security setup. I don't want my vehicle overtly where everybody can see it. I want to reduce my signature, so I might be in a covert area, and if somebody comes across me and they approach me, that's not, I've been in some weird, hairy situations, and if you're an overlander or off-roader, you've done a lot of austere camping, you know how that could be. Guys, I wanted to give you a couple pro tips on overlanding and off-roading. I'm super pumped about it, man. I love it. I'm going to be at Olympus. If you're following the American Rally Series, come see me out in Olympus with my team. We'll have a Fieldcraft booth, a setup, and I'll be racing in the ARA Series. Maybe not restricted. I don't know if we've cleared that through ARA or not, but hopefully we go there and we kick off the race. Either way, if restricted or not, I'll learn a lot. It'll be super fun. And then leading into next month, we will be at Overland Expo. Come see us. Come train with us. It's super exciting. Last thing, man, I want to talk to you guys about tactical response and bed down. These are the two products that I get the most questions about for my company, the Wolf 21. If you're interested, go to thewolf21.com. Look, guys, I've been using CBD. I was using Uncanna's product when they dropped. CBD has helped me, especially with chronic pain with my neck and back. But now I started my own line with the infusion of CBN, because CBN is that element from the cannabinoid receptors that allow me to kind of come off of that hill where I'm all elevated. My brain can't stop thinking about business, about life, and I could just kind of unwind and then go to sleep. It's not weed, right? It's derived from hemp. There's no THC. And then the tactical response has CBG in it. And this is what I drop in my Black Rifle coffee every single morning. And you guys can get that on thewolf21.com. Guys, I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in this podcast. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the audio version of this. And if you're listening to me on audio, make sure you hit up YouTube, subscribe and follow, because there's always bonus opportunities where I'm doing something with my hands, whether we're talking about EDC or whatever in life, and you guys can see me. So to each their own. I like to do both, but I appreciate all the support from you guys. The Mike Force Podcast, guys, have a good week. I will see you next week. We'll kick off a new podcast. Make sure you leave your questions, your feedbacks, subscribe, and hit the notification tab. Until next time, peace out.